Amnesia the Bunker is one of the best horror games ever made. With that out of the way, starting directly from the prologue, we get a very clear understanding of things such as light and color palette. The game at its brightest still leaves areas of stark shadows and muted colors. Were it not for things like blood and shrubbery, you might think that the game was using a monochromatic or desaturated color scheme. We are also thrown into a feeling of isolation and terror by seeing dead men strewed about the trenches, some caught dead inside barbed wire. We are in a claustrophobic environment right from the word go, and there is no way to climb out of the trenches, and the sounds of gunfire show that escape is going to be hard-won. Moving on to the second part of the prologue, we are in no man's land, where instead of the maze-like structure of the trenches, we are now painfully out in the open, with more corpses strewn about randomly. Whether in cover or in open, war offers no safety. While other games in the Amnesia series also dealt with limited resources, the bunker plants itself firmly in the survival horror genre by way of allowing you to fight back against your foes and opening access to other areas with various tools, chief among these being the revolver. In other survival horror games, your gun would simply be a weapon, but the bunker adds a further sense of dread and planning by allowing you to open locked doors by shooting padlocks. At times, this is required, and so you will be forced to alert the monster to your presence. The tools in the bunker are not limited to the pistol, including bandages, medkits, glass bottles, fuel cans, as well as key items such as a lighter, a gas mask, a wrench, a chain cutter, a watch, and, most predominantly, the flashlight. The flashlight in particular signals to the player at the very beginning of the bunker that your usage of tools needs to be deliberate and methodical, as the flashlight will make a hellacious racket if yanked 3 times in quick succession. Essentially, from the beginning, you're carrying your own dinner bell. The primary antagonist of the game is, of course, the Beast, a damnably human entity that has murdered almost everyone else stationed in the bunker, leaving Henri alone in his quest to escape. As you trek through the bunker, you can always see holes that it has dug, with almost no rooms not being connected to its tunnel system. Even your safe room will have a hole dug into it at the midway point in the game. Except that hole don't actually do nothing, just there to scare the player, because even the devs knew that'd be cruel and unusual. The Beast is not alone in hounding the player. The bunker is infested with rats. With one exception, the rats are only ever seen consuming the bodies of your fellow soldiers, showing what exactly is going to happen should you die. There is one other enemy that I haven't mentioned, but we'll save him for later. The game never lets you forget that it takes place during World War I. Hell, at the beginning, Soldat Boisson says,
"Thought I was the last one. We're trapped down here. The rat fucking officers ran and blew the exit behind them."
Which means that the officers knew of the danger of the Beast and left their soldiers to die. You can piece together a rough timeline of events starting even before the discovery of the Roman tunnels, a few soldiers seeming to compare the Great War to a punishment or judgment from God, or proof that he doesn't care. Madness and distrust spreads about and creates factions within the bunker, culminating in the sabotage of the Roman tunnel project, the court-martialing and possible execution of several soldiers, and the madness of Toussaint Beaufoy, the shotgunner, and the third type of enemy in the game. Toussaint is a bit off his rocker, but aside from that, in the context of the entire Amnesia series, he is the only enemy that is a regular man. He can even be killed in a number of ways, including simply shooting him once or twice, depending on difficulty. But the horror from his section comes from having to face another human who is also intelligent and capable of instantly killing you with a shotgun, a bog-standard tool of war. Well, I have no idea how a French unit got an American shotgun 1 year before Americans entered the war. Toussaint's section would be almost the exact same without the supernatural elements. In fact, after killing him, the music immediately stops and the ambience goes quiet. There was never any threat beyond a regular armed man. There's a specific note that requires the player to go out of their way to acquire, found in an officer's locked filing cabinet, where, in private correspondence, one of the officers of the bunker speaks to another, stating that orders from even higher up than them to expand the bunker to make a central hub for the war effort is a fool's errand written by people who don't understand the conflict and will simply turn the bunker into a mass grave. This blindness and disregard for lower men on the chain of command is followed with the officers of the bunker not taking heed of the soldiers' warnings about the Roman tunnels. Men are sent to die by those above them with no regard for their autonomy. Even within the bunker, you can see how war can make men into monsters, by way of the torture of the German prisoner. This was going on even before the beast made itself known. It doesn't take some magic water to turn a man into a torturer of his fellow men. However, within all this oppressive atmosphere and degradation of morals, you can save the prisoner from being killed by the beast. However, the game, many times, shows you a light at the end of a tunnel. The exit sign above the rubble that you spend the whole game trying to destroy is backlit by a small shaft of light coming from a hole. But if you stand close to the rubble, you can sometimes hear the sound of gunfire. Not to mention the ways the bunker can shake from artillery. The game, from the beginning, is luring you into a false sense of safety while never lying to you about your chances. I think the absolute best example of this is in my favorite part of the game, the pillbox. Attempting to locate a necessary locker code, the player needs to obtain a key to the pillbox, which requires them to find the chaplain for the bunker. Upon entering the chapel, we see the first definitive evidence that the beast is intelligent, by way of seeing how it has gruesomely defiled a house of God, with a man crucified with barbed wire backlit by a single light. The room is an abattoir dedicated to suffering and death. Upon opening the confessional, we find the pillbox key, and hear the beast exit a hole outside the chapel. You are forced to hide in the confessional with the corpse of the priest. After this, you can make your way to the pillbox, opening the door to reveal a ladder going up, with a light at the top. Climbing up the ladder, you see the light is caused by a massive crack in the top of the pillbox, and upon reaching the top of the ladder, you see the man who attempted to escape before you, shot in the eyeball, dead. The only scenery available is no man's land. Standing up for too long allows a German sniper to take pot shots at you. There is no escape, only running into enemy fire. You have no choice but to go back down with the beast. That is a better, safer option than attempting to escape into no man's land. Again, an optional note summarizes it best, saying that the soldiers have their commanding officers behind them, their enemy in front of them, and madness surrounding them. Regardless of how you do it, it all ends the same for Henri. After finally blowing up the entrance, you see that it has simply collapsed further, and a new hole has been created that you must go down, further into hell. After going down, you hear the beast still following you. You enter some kind of macabre arena over a bottomless pit filled with lightning. Again, at the very far side of this cave is a single point of light. You know what you must do, but the beast is about and wants you dead. Here, there are two options. Either kill the beast by sending it into the pit, or don't. It is immaterial to what happens next. After finding a small hole, Henri pushes rocks out of the way and falls down a hillside into a mass grave. The bones and gristle of his fellow soldiers being the only thing he can see in the muck. No matter how you do it, no matter if you try to save the prisoner, no matter if you kill the beast or not, Henri ends up dead, your only reward being the credits and the results screen. And then you get to mess with the game's difficulty settings, which can turn the entire game into a joke. Amnesia the Bunker is a masterclass of horror. It is a culmination of so much that the developers learned while creating their previous games, as well as a slight rebuttal to the idea of guns and action disqualifying a game from being horror. I can only hope that somehow, the devs continue to impress and redefine horror games, as they have been doing for the past 2 decades. Okay, where are you gonna go? Oh. Oh shit!